our next topic of this module, that is latch based clocking system, right? So in the previous videos or part of the modules, we have seen so many different concepts. So the last part was with respect to clock distribution techniques. Okay, we have seen two types. One is edge type, then the second one is the grid based technique, right? Sorry for that. Okay, so in today's class I will be starting with the latch based clocking techniques. So the use of registers in sequential circuit translates into robust, reliable design methodology. Yet there are significant performance advantages to be made through the use of latch-based design style, right? In which combination logic is separated by transparent latches. In an edge-triggered system, the worst-case logic path between two registers determines the clock period of the entire system. If logic block finishes before the end of clock period, it has to sit idle until the next clock edge, right? So this is the problem with the uh, if a logic block finishes before the end of the clock period. The use of latch based methodology enables more flexible timing by allowing one stage to pass slack or to borrow the time from the other stage. So what they're trying to tell you is that if by chance two registers we are instead of making them purely sequential, if you make them a latch based clocking system, then we have the capacity to either borrow the slack or we can carry over to the next stage, right? We can also note that the latch based methodology can thought of as adding logic between latches with the master slave flip flops. Now if I consider this figure what I have shown, look, if you please properly pay concentration, minute details are very much important in the examination. Consider the latch based system as shown in this figure, which has a two-phase clocking schemes. Assuming that the clocks are idle and the two clocks are inverted version of each other, you can see clock 1 and clock 2, they are inverted version of each other. You can see clock 1 whenever it is high, clock 2 is low. Whenever clock 2 is low, clock 1 is high. So they are inversely related to each other. In this configuration, a stable input is available to the combination logic block CLB1. Here CLB stands for configurable logic block A and CLB-B. So there are two configuration logic blocks. There are actually three, ABC. We are going to consider AB only, right? So in this configuration, a stable input is available on the combinational logic block. It is not configurable, sorry, it is combinational logic block CLB on falling edge of clock 1, that is at edge 2. Okay, you can see the marking on this waveform 2, number 2. It has a maximum time equal to TCLK divided by 2 evaluate, that is the entire low phase of clock 1. On the falling edge of clock 2, that is at edge number 3, the output of CLB-A is latched and the computation of CLB is launched. So CLB-B computes on the low phase of clock 2 and output is available on the falling edge of clock 1 at edge 4. From a timing perspective, this scenario appears to be equivalent to an edge triggered system where CLB-A and CLB-B are cascaded between two edge triggered registers, right? So that scenario I can show you here in this case. So from the timing perspective, this scenario appears to be equivalent to an edge triggered system where CLB-A and CLB-B are cascaded between two edge triggered registers, right? So L1, L2 on the left side, L1, L2 on the right side, both with clock 1 and clock 2. In both the cases, it appears that the time available to perform the combination of CLB-A and CLB-B is TCLK. Okay, so then, so this is with respect to latch. So how the latch is going to help us to borrow the slack, as mentioned earlier. Okay, the slack passing results from a level sensitive nature of the latches. In this figure, input CLB-A must be valued by the falling edge of clock 1 at number 2, right? Clock period, you can see that number 2. What happens if the combination logic block of previous stage finishes early and has a valid input for CLB-A before edge 2, right? If that happens, since the latch is transparent during the entire high phase of the clock, the input data of CLB-A are valid as soon as the previous stage has finished computing. This implies the maximum time available for CLBA is its phase time, that is the low phase of clock 1, plus any time left from the previous computation. So it latch based system has advantage of borrowing the time which has left over from the previous stage, which was not possible in edge triggered flip flop case. Okay, consider the latch based system. Okay, next we'll consider the latch based system here. uh, in this example, signal A input to CLBA is valid well before the edge 2. This implies that the previous block did not use its entire, right, it did not use, the block did not use the entire allotment producing slack time as denoted by the shaded area. You can see the shaded area. By construction, CLBA can start computing as soon as signal A becomes valid. It uses this slack time to finish well before its allotment time of edge 3, right? Since L2 is transparent latch valid on the high phase of clock 2, CLBB starts to compute using the slack provided by CLBA. Again, CLBB completes before its allotment time 4, right? Some problem with its timing. I'll change it after this video. It's rotating, don't know what has happened, please sorry for that. Since L2 is transparent latch valid on the high phase of clock 2, CLBB starts to compute using the slack provided by clock A. Okay, again clock B computes before its allocated time at edge 4, and it passes a small amount of slack to the next cycle. As this picture indicates, the total cycle delay, that is the sum of delay of CLBA and CLBB, is larger than the clock period. Since the pipeline behaved correctly, slack passing has taken place and a higher throughput has been achieved. These all things have been taken place, right? Now, so this is about the, one second. So we have discussed this. We are done with this 30. Okay, this is over. This is also over. Now discussing this. Example of slack borrowing is over. Just now I explained you, right? So we'll see now pipeline synchronous data path. Okay, so what happens since, so this part is with respect to self-timed circuit design. Okay, the synchronous design approaches advocated in previous section assumes that all circuit events are orchestrated by central clock. Those clocks have a dual function. They ensure that the physical timing constraints are met. The next clock cycle can start only when all logic transitions have settled and the system has come to a steady state. This ensures that only logical values are applied in the next round of computation. In short, clocks account for the worst case delays of logic gates, sequential logic elements, and wiring. Clock events serve as a logical ordering mechanism for the global system events. A clock provides a time base that determines what will happen and when. On every clock transition, a number of operations are initiated that change the state of the sequential network. The important point is that the clock period is chosen to be larger than the worst case delay of the pipeline stage. Here T should be greater than propagation delay of block 1, block 2 and block 3 plus propagation delay of the registers, right? Then only it will work fine. The synchronous design methodology has some clear advantage. It presents structured deterministic approach to the problem of choreographing the myriad of events that take place in the digital system or digital designs. The approach taken is to equalize the delays of all operations by making them as bad as of the worst of the set. The approach is robust and easy to adhere to, which explains its enormous popularity. However, it does have some pitfalls. One way to avoid this problem is to opt for asynchronous design approach and to eliminate all the clocks. Designing a purely asynchronous circuit is a non-trivial and potentially hazardous task. A more reliable and robust technique is self-timed approach, which represents a local solution to the timing problem, uh, which I will show you in this particular figure, right? Uh, it is assumed that each combinational function has a means of indicating that it has completed computation for a particular piece of data, right? The computation of logic block is initiated by asserting a start signal. The combination logic block computes an input data and in data dependent fashion. Okay, and then we will be generate a done flag on the computation is finished. In addition, the operators okay. So the combination logic block computes on the input data and in a data dependent fashion generates a done flag once the computation is finished. In addition, the operators must signal each other that either they are ready to receive, right, ready to receive. In addition, the operator must signal each other that either they are ready to receive next input word or they have a legal data word at their output that is ready for consumption. This signaling ensures the logical ordering of the events and can be achieved with the aid of extra acknowledge and request signal. In the case of pipeline data path, the scenario could process as follows. An input word arrives and a request to the block F1 as shown in this figure. Block F1 is raised. If F1 is inactive at the time, it transfers the data and acknowledges this fact to the input buffer, which can go after the fetch and the next word. F1 is enabled by raising the start signal after a certain amount of time, which is dependent upon the data values operating condition. The done signal goes high, indicating the completion of the computation. A request is issued to F2 module. If this function is free, an acknowledge is raised and the output value is transferred. F1 can go ahead with its next computation. So here HS stands for handshake. So this is a purely self-timed pipeline data path. So it is not work with respect to clock, but with respect to request and acknowledge. Whenever there is a request from a particular block, so that particular block will work and it will send a acknowledgement. It works with respect to request and acknowledgement signal. So it is asynchronous type of design methodology. Okay, so I will stop the video here. So I will next start with the completion signal generation. Thank you.